just make sure we can see it. There's a flat roof over there off in the distance. That's Paratua Vineyard. That's where I got the Chardonnay for the Amplified White in 2014. Right across the road is a vineyard. You see a group of trees there. That's where the Viognier comes from Zan Harding's block. And just below us, where I live actually, friends of ours have been nice enough to let us stay there and watch over their property. That's the first vineyard I ever made wine from. Both Chardonnay and Malbec came off of that vineyard. So that's the 09 Malbec. If any of you have ever had that, that's where that came from. But nowadays I get the Malbec from the Gimblett Gravels, which is, if you follow that road and turn down behind those hills there, that's where the Gimblett Gravels starts. So the same river that created the Gimblett Gravels and shifted only a couple hundred years ago to make these really rocky soils was the same one in this giant river valley here that made the Bridgepaw Triangle. I think it was about 10,000 years earlier there. So there's about 10,000 years of you know, red metal and sand and things like that on top of these soils. You'll get pockets of fertile places. That's why you'll see random farms along the vines growing vegetables. But for the most part, it's you know, red metal, stony soils that make the Paratua wines so awesome. These big giant reds. You can get some awesome Chardonnay, even some Sauvignon Blanc and things like that. It's not quite as bony as the Gimblett Gravels, and I think the tannins reflect that. They're a bit softer and more voluptuous from Bridgepaw, and the tannins from the Gimblett Gravels are quite bright and angular. And finally, if we walk all the way over here, you can see a river valley, an actual river, the Ngaruroro River, the river that made those two great wine regions, is now permanently shifted over here. So you can start to see the river popping up there between the trees going down. It's a bit low this time of year in the summer, but that wraps all the way around over there, and where it wraps around over there is Crownthorpe. And I always say on our tasting notes that Crownthorpe is inland and elevated, so you can see the difference between the coastal plains, the Haratonga Plains of Hawke's Bay. We're known for their famous reds and big reds and things like that. And just a bit inland, a little bit east and a little bit elevated as you're starting to head towards those mountains is Crownthorpe along the river. But still a lot of great sunlight, just slightly cooler nights, and probably a little bit cooler overall, which makes it perfect to grow some really tropical Sauvignon Blanc that you get to taste in those Decibel wines. So we might try to come up here again and explain it. We might take some clips from this. I apologize about the sun. Probably be better if it was a little higher. It may have been in your eyes on my way up here, but you know, Sunday morning, baby's in taking a nap, so it's perfect time for a little quick hike across the street. And yeah, what I'm pointing at now is Tomato Peak, one of the sort of major landmarks of Hawke's Bay. It's the sleeping giant, and that's something else you should look up and see some famous pictures of. So great old Maudie legend. And yeah, so this is what's called Roy's Hill. It's probably the end of Roy's Hill because it sort of drops off as we head a little bit south. But it's a great vantage point. So there you go again. Once again, Crownthorpe as we look to the south and inland to the west. As we go out towards the ocean, around those hills there is the Gimblett Gravels, where the Malbec comes from. Maybe someday some Syrah from there, who knows. And then this big region over here is Bridgepaw, where I spend most of my days. And Pa meaning, sort of means town or village in Maudie, and there's a little village right in the middle of this that the whole region's named after. So we call it the Bridgepaw Triangle, and that's what you're looking at there. Right, I'm gonna hook this back up to my Phillies hat and hike back down. You should get a really cool vantage point on the way down. And again, I mentioned it on the way up. Look at those downhills and you know how dry it is here in Hawke's Bay. And and we're only in December. We won't harvest until April, so we've got quite a ways to go. So looking good so far, but you see how green those canopies are on all those millions of vines down there? That's what we want.